Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Restricted Republic. My name is Justice Knight. Today, filling in for Lisa Haven. Can't thank you enough for being here. Now, before we get started into this story, something that was just simply me chasing down the rabbit hole of trying to disprove something, and lo and behold, well, we get the reality you're about to see. The rabbit hole that led somewhere I never expected it to lead. A patent that simply shouldn't exist, but does. Something discredited by Reuters, something called fake news, conspiracy theory. Well, when you put the two images side by side, that conspiracy theory, well, is no longer a conspiracy. But before we get there, if you haven't subscribed to Lisa's channel yet, what are you waiting for? Just takes a few seconds to do that. Make sure your bell is turned on. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Lisa will throw a link just above. If you can click on it and subscribe, it would mean the world to me. And if you haven't got over and joined us yet to restrictedrepublic.com, I'm telling you, that platform has grown by thousands and thousands who want all their news in one place and the exclusive content you simply can't get anywhere else right now. Special Christmas offer by simply putting Christmas22 in the discount code. That's going to get you $3.99 a month for 1 year. Plus 14 days for free. Again, Christmas 22. That offer won't last long, just through the holidays. So please, get there today. But for now, let's get back to this broadcast. So you ready? Because you're about to travel down the rabbit hole with me now. It started with this. I was doing research on Luciferase. I'm sure many of you have heard about this, as it says in the subtext there. It's possible someday that this invisible approach could create new possibilities for data storage, biosensing, and vaccine applications from Unveiling of its quantum dot tattoo. Now, you may know a certain segment of that story. That as published by Karen Hunt's Substack, Break Free. Now, we're going to go a lot deeper than that, because this is just the beginning of the story. Back then, she said, I'd read some articles about the bioluminescence of fireflies being used to probe for and identify life in outer space. I can't find those articles now, but there are plenty of recent ones talking about Luciferase being used as a conduit to identify information inside our bodies, such as vaccine status and or general medical health, and relaying that information to AI outside our bodies, which is going to lead directly to the patent I found. Theranos involved in this entire story. A story I promise you haven't heard anywhere else. But let's move forward. First, you saw that funny looking little mosquito I had on the thumbnail. Fact-checked unfounded conspiracy claims about Department of Homeland Security and Luciferase. What do those two have to do with each other? Well, let's start here. Fact check. Unfounded conspiracy claims about Department of Homeland Security and Luciferase. Social media users are claiming a patent for fusion proteins containing Luciferase. Conclusion of this, because I think it really goes to frame everything in. And by the way, when we're talking about Lucifer, not this Lucifer, not this one either. Something completely different. Well, maybe, depending on what associations you want to draw. But again, let's go to the conclusion of this fact check by Reuters, because down at the very bottom, verdict: misleading. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security did apply for a patent for fusion proteins containing Luciferase, but it's not related to the fallen angel, Lucifer. Yes, one of those fact checks. Completely irrelevant to the topic, but that's okay, because we'll help make it relevant to the topic. Here is the United States patent, as we always prove to you out all these stories. United States Patent Applications Publication, the Government of the United States of America, as represented by the Secretary of Homeland Security, all about this bioluminescence. So picture it as being something that can tell someone, maybe an AI, what your health condition is. Have you taken your medication? Is it going to glow yellow or blue or green? Putting it very simply, but there is facts and fundamentals behind all of this. This on the National Institute of Health, again, proving it out to you. In vivo monitoring of DNA vaccine gene expression using Firefly Luciferase as a naked DNA. The administration of naked DNA into animals is increasing as a research tool to develop DNA vaccine to monitor the distribution and gene expression of a DNA vaccine in living organisms. We used naked DNA encoding Firefly Luciferase as an imaging reporter gene. You see, this is all documented. You just have to cover the story correctly and where it's moving towards. This on MIT. Storing medical information below the skin surface. Specialized invisible dye delivered along with a vaccine could enable on-patient storage of vaccination history to save lives in regions where paper or digital records aren't available. The research was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Koch Institute support grant from the National Cancer Institute. This is as real as the day is long. Much research is going into this. Bioluminescence quantum dots. Final little article just to prove it out. This was on Nature Methods. You go down in here, it'll give a nifty little graphic of what's going on, a schematic showing the design and function of bioluminescent quantum dots. Within the article, when injected into mice, the bioluminescence quantum dot conjugates produces good signals with no background after injection of the Luciferase substrate into the bloodstream. Furthermore, Rao and the colleagues within the study were able to exploit the fact that quantum dots with distinct emission spectra all have similar absorption profiles, allowing all of them to function as a luciferase energy acceptor. The property of these conjugates should be made them suitable for use with animals larger than mice. To study, the work is there. A way to know your medical history without having a piece of paper. No, these markers can simply show the doctor or whoever else may be looking at it exactly what your medical history is. But remember, the verdict was proven true. Department of Homeland Security was working on this. However, it didn't involve Lucifer because the average reader couldn't have figured that out. Now remember, to most of these giants, especially in the tech world, well, as Facebook put it, Facebook's meta mission was laid out in a 2018 paper declaring the metaverse is ours to lose. Well, the metaverse or the meatverse, yeah, that's right. There would be virtual people that they could marry while spending as little time as possible in the so-called meatverse, referencing to the real world because humans are flesh and blood, and how annoying is that, right? That's what we are to the author of that article, pieces of meat. But that's critical when you dig a little bit deeper into the story, because some scientists would even call us wetware. That's right, much different than hardware. Wetware refers to any hardware or software system with a biological component or biological systems that functions like software and hardware. Moving down further, one of the best examples of wetware is the human body and central nervous system. Now don't worry, this all wraps together really quickly. Keeping in mind this is all about your medical history. Keeping in mind that we always worry about surveillance. Keeping in mind that the United States now is the number 2 most surveilled country in the world. Keeping in mind, or as the New York Times published it, the drones were ready for this moment. While humans hunkered down, aerial robots are taking over as cops, street cleaners, medical assistants, delivery workers, and soon, friends. Oh, friend and enemy, now that is a dangerous term to use because drones haven't often proven to be friends. Just ask those folks in China, like this lady here, who got a message from one of those friendly drones.
你不戴口罩就不要出去，不要乱跑，记得赶紧回家，回家洗洗手，对吧？注意一下卫生，对吧？咱们村这么多人都说你都说不住，非得派无人机过来飞你。
But we'll go further because ultimately this all boils down to people tracking you, Stingray tracking system, who's got them. The ACLU has identified 75 agencies in 25 states and the District of Columbia that own Stingrays. Nice little way to get into, well, your cell phone. Or you look here at the Public Safety Drones 3rd edition. How many states in the Union have? Well, 49 states currently use drones. So the United States and law enforcement have shown a propensity to use surveillance technology. Of course, all in the interest of public safety. We know that, right? Skin-like electronics could monitor your health continuously. You see, there's a big drive for this. They want something that reports data, so they don't need those nasty little records or paper files or emails. Nope, they just want it on you. Make sense? Stuff like this little material. Nice, stretchable, pliable, won't go anywhere. Will stay on, no problem at all. Take a shower, don't even worry about it, right? Who's developing this? The Pritzker family. That's right. They're working on it diligently to make sure it soon becomes a reality. But that story expands well beyond that. 3,600 crystals in wearable skin, but this is a piece of fake skin, let's call it. But there's an effort to make it smaller, to make it tinier, to make it under the skin. Sensor reports, health stats to wireless readers. Now you can kind of go back to that Lucifer discussion and see why people are a bit concerned now, right? Wonder where that's going to be located, but you see how tiny it is. On the end of a needle, barely able to be seen. So if that's going to be tracking your medical history, man, you should definitely have the autonomy to assure that if you want such a device, that you're the one choosing that, right? I would hope. Sub-millimeter microsensors, tiny enough to inject under the skin, could monitor your health in the future thanks to a new super sensitive wireless reader. Aren't we lucky? Not so much. Because remember this picture that we talked about in the beginning? Well, that turned out not to be true, by the way. At least it should have remained in nightmares. That nasty little bugger there. More of an artist's rendering than it is anything else. The U.S. government developing insect spy drones. Truth? Well, that's what started me down the rabbit hole to find if there was truth or not in that statement. Kind of half and half. You see this on NBC News. U.S. hopes to develop bug-sized flying spies. That's pretty cut and dry. You really can't misread that headline. The way we envision it, there would be a bunch of these sent out in a swarm, said Greg Parker, who helps lead the research project at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton. If we know there's a possibility of a bad guy in a certain building, how do we find out? Well, we could just send in these little bugs. But that should remain maybe, a little creepy, a little robotic, maybe a little military application. Well, as I searched down the rabbit hole to find more information about the truth or not truth, well, I started stumbling into patents. Well, not patents here, because I typed in the patent number on the Google patent search and got an entirely different patent. But that wasn't going to stop me, right? So I went into a different patent public search, and up and lo and behold came the actual patent. Sitting right there, 115-17232. A patent that's going to keep you awake tonight. This patent, Systems and Methods for Mobile Sample Collection by Channing Robertson, Labrador Diagnostics. That name sounds familiar, doesn't it? It really should, because he was involved in Theranos. Within the first picture you see is something that, gave me cause for concern. Because the subjects there with their hands up in the air and little insects coming down in parachutes on the ground, flying out of these little box units, all reporting back to number 60, being dropped by number 10, coming to Subject S. That's right. Something that should be in nightmares is now appearing to take a little bit of shape. Coming again, a SoftBank-owned company used Theranos patents to sue over COVID-19 test. That guy. Where is Theranos Channing Robertson now? The dropouts followed Elizabeth Holmes as she drops out of Stanford and forms her own biotech company. Theranos, Holmes resolved to develop her concept for a microfluid blood testing device. We know how that ends. Holmes received support from her professor, Channing Robertson. That's his patent. Well, it appears he's not done, because he goes deeper. Now, I'm just going to show you some pictures before we go into the highlights of the patent. Pretty readily apparent to me what's going on here. And that image should creep you out. Because this one, remember, the other one I showed you, remember, it was just an artist's rendering, didn't exist. Many people disproving that picture, and rightfully so, and it should have remained disproven. Should have remained in nightmares. But then, lo and behold, we get that image in a U.S. patent. So it appears, once again, truth is slightly stranger than fiction. So we went further to background. Laboratory testing of blood samples is traditionally based on having a subject or subjects travel to a facility, such as a doctor's office or clinical laboratory, where the blood sample is collected. This process and traditional sample collection based on collection of medical facilities creates a legacy system burdened by various limitations that can make the process unnecessarily slow. Slow, inconvenient for subjects, and a deterrent to patient laboratory testing compliance. Well, this patent gives everyone a way to fix it. By way of non-limiting examples, a drone is used herein may be a mechanical device, electromechanical device, or self-propelled device or a robotic device that can use one or more modes of transportation, such as, but not limited to, always worry about that phrase, flying, swimming, rolling, crawling, wheeling, and or other movement mode to travel to a subject. A drone in... You think this is bad? Just wait a few seconds. A drone in any of the foregoing descriptions may be configured to be fully autonomous, substantially autonomous, operated but with limited use oversight, partially remote controlled by a user, or fully remote controlled by a user. Optionally, some embodiments may use a semi-autonomous vehicle that may, in one non-limiting example, be piloted remotely by a human or other controller. Can't wait to find out who the controllers are. Vehicles that can respond to their environment and adapt, avoid obstacles, for instance. In addition, maybe the obstacle of your privacy. Who knows, right? In addition to transport capabilities, a drone may also have at least one other capability, such as, but not limited to, video surveillance, audio surveillance, sample collection, tissue penetration, and or capabilities currently known or may be developed. Nothing to be concerned about, just sample collection and tissue penetration through something flying, rolling, moving towards a subject, autonomous or semi-autonomous. Can't say why I said this was stuff of nightmares, right? Or in section 15, as we move on, optionally, some may test for a simple and or rapid test initially. If a positive signal is detected, we're kind of coming back to Luciferase now, aren't we? Then the system may send more drones or send more sophisticated drones to the subject. Some may send a base station or a forward operating device to or near the location of the first drone to sample the area around the site. Sounds wonderful and horrible and terrifying. Because optionally, the size and weight of the drone may be such as they are less noticeable to the subject. Here we go. This drives to a certain length scale, possibly smaller than a mosquito, having the ability to talk to one another, talk to a base station, guidance, autopilot. Optionally, one configuration may be one where each small flying drone or gnat takes the same type of sample. Optionally, one configuration may be one where the gnat takes a different type of sample, blood, sweat, tears, or other bodily fluid. Optionally, one configuration may be where multiple gnats take different samples all at once. Oh, this is glorious, isn't it? But the worst part? I haven't even gotten to yet. Location acquisition for targeting or retrieval. UV, bioluminescence, as we've been discussing. Anything in the EM spectrum or other signature characteristics of the target. You see how it all ties together so quickly? Acquisition may involve waiting for subjects to walk by or be positioned for sampling. Some may involve being positioned on a tree branch, perch, overhang, or other location above the subject. Tentacles, webs, strings, or attachment lines may be deployed to assist in getting the sample device to the subject. The ones I showed you in the beginning, with their hands up. The device may acquire samples from the subject's finger, hand, forearm, earlobe, ear cheek, or buttocks. Not sure why they added that, but heck, why not? Let's make it a little bit worse first. This reduces volume, more enables the embodiment here to use tick or mosquito type sample acquisition techniques because the desired sample size is so small. So, am I sitting there waiting for this to happen? Just come on in, bring the gnats towards me. The answer to that question. Optionally, sample theory and statistics is used as part of one implementation of terms of disease or other outbreak detection. In one limited example, there is an option for sampling weekly, monthly, or other intervals. In one non-limited example, such sample collection may be occurring and the subject may not even know it. There we go. In one non-limiting example, a subject's bodily fluid is being tested hourly or other frequent intervals without the subject's explicit knowledge. Welcome to the nightmare of this patent. Kept me awake, so I figure I might as well keep you awake tonight too. I couldn't believe we found something that simply shouldn't exist, as it may fly and land on a surface and then crawl to the subject. Some may land and remain in the shower or bathroom or other desired area to facilitate that sample collection. Seriously, this is a U.S. patent, because when you tie it into everything else we discussed, major cause for concern. would be an understatement. Still can't believe we found it. Now, before we end, I want to give a shout out to Lisa's sponsor of this video today, and that is ketowithlisa.com. That's from that wonderful team over there at BioTrust. Again, ketowithlisa.com. Right now, get up to 51% off. It's an amazing group of products, something we use personally, and we know you're going to enjoy the product. Again, that's ketowithlisa.com. So I know you're probably a little itchy after this broadcast. Trust me, I am too. But that is how stories develop, when you dig deep enough to find out when they say something's false. Well, hold on a second, because there's always some basis to somebody's crazy, crazy conspiracy. Boy, we're finding that out a lot lately, aren't we? Well, I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.